Hello and welcome back to Frances Works in the Vlog, where 120-something lives as a working artist. Today is the first edition of Frances Works in Theater. I'm going to tell you about, my theatrical journey, why I work in it, all the good artist things. So a question I get asked a lot in interviews is why theater and why specifically costumes in theater. So I work in theater because I've always loved storytelling. I was like that bookwormy kid in elementary school and middle school that was reading like 3 books a day and, always ahead of the rest of the class in like reading levels and stuff. So I always loved books and I always loved storytelling, and when I realized that I could be part of a story, that was amazing and awe-inspiring, and I just wanted to be a part of it. So I love storytelling, and then I got into what I love about costumes is that it gets more into like the fine art side of theater than some other parts of theater do, like acting or directing. And each costume that I build is a sculpture, but with fabric. And yeah, that's a really, not only can you tell stories through words, but you can tell stories through shapes and design. And that's an amazing thing about costumes. And lastly, I really love that theater is collaborative. I love working with other people. I love, the art not just resting on me. I think sometimes that can be really stifling. Well, not stifling, but it can be really scary for some artists that this is all on me. And in theater, it's definitely not. You always have people to turn to and friends to work with, which is really, really cool. So Frances, now that we know why you work in theater, how have you gotten there? What was your journey? So I wrote some notes, so be prepared. So like many people who work in theater, my journey started in high school theater. And, I actually in middle school theater, I got my first role in 6th grade. Yeah, 6th grade. And then I did another show in 8th grade. And of course, at that time, the middle schoolers can really only act in shows. They can't do anything else. Because they're just not in the club. They just need kids sometimes. So I started acting and I really, really liked it. I had always been a person who was in the arts. I was in choir, I was in band, I did all those things. So joining theater as an actor just seemed correct. That was what all the other smart kids that did all the things like me were doing. And I did it and I really enjoyed it. And then during my freshman year of high school, of course, I was very involved in the drama club and I did all the shows that I could. And the Thespian Society was thinking about roles for the next year and who was going to do the big jobs, like heads of departments and stuff. And I kind of wanted to be a head of a department, but I didn't know which one. And I was talking to my parents about it, and my mom said that she had been helping with the costume moms all year, and she wanted to be in charge. So I should be the costume mistress, the head of the costume department, so that she could be in charge. And I said, okay, that makes sense. So I became the costume mistress, and I didn't really know anything about costumes, but the next year, my mom and I collaborated a lot. We did a lot of research. I'd always liked clothes. My parents used to call me a fashionista all the time, which is not true because I don't keep up with trends. But I'd always been interested in clothes, so that was it was really interesting to do all this research on different historical periods that we were going to be in for the shows, and I stuck with it for the next 3 years, and it was really exciting, and I really loved it, and I loved picking out clothes, and I loved sewing, and I loved the research behind historical dress, because we did a lot of historical plays. So that was really, really fun. And in college, I thought I wanted to be an actor as a profession, so I went in knowing I was going to be a theater major, and I went gung-ho for acting and I auditioned for all the shows, but I also got a work-study job in the theater department's costume shop because I had those sewing skills. And according to my professor, I kind of strong-armed my way into that job, but I'm really grateful that I did, because throughout that first year, I got a role in a club show, but I didn't do anything on the main stage, and I was kind of struggling with my acting classes. And through that, I realized that the place I was happiest on campus was in the costume shop, and that was really that was my safe place, that was like my peaceful place. I felt the best when I was there, just really contented and like I was doing good work and that I was it was fulfilling. And so I kind of as some people say, turned to the dark side, and I decided at the end of my freshman year that I would still act in things if I liked a show and auditioned for it and got a part, but that wasn't my goal anymore. My goal was now costume design, and I think that was a good decision for me because obviously I'm still there. So then, because I had decided I was going to be a costume designer, I started designing. We had 2 theater clubs on my campus, and I designed costumes for both of them. They were totally, the clubs were totally student-produced theater, which was really awesome because we had a smaller department and professors designed a lot of the main stage shows, so the clubs were really where I could cut my teeth on that. And it was awesome. I got really good at thrift shopping because they are small budgets when they're student-run theater, and that was really exciting. And then in my my senior year, we had these big culminating projects. It's kind of like a thesis, but we call it a capstone because you're not in grad school. I was the first costume design student to get to design by myself a main stage show, which was of course exciting, but also kind of nerve-wracking because I didn't want to mess it up for anybody in the future. It turned out well, don't worry. Other people can do it now. And I designed our musical. I also designed another musical for a club show at the same time. I would not recommend that while also being a full-time student, but we survived. So I was designing in college and I was like, costume design, that's what I want to do. I want to be a designer. So I applied for grad schools, and I had a BA program instead of a BFA, and I wasn't thinking about grad school for a lot of the time that I was in college. So that first round of grad school applications didn't go super well for me. I didn't get any offers. I got a couple interviews, but I didn't get any offers, and that was, a blow. So after I graduated, I came home and I said, the way to fix this is I'm just gonna freelance in smaller theaters while I live at home with my parents and try to build up that portfolio for the next round of grad school applications. So I did that. I worked in a small community college theater. I worked as a makeup designer for a haunted house. I just tried to do what I could to build up my portfolio a little more. And that was difficult because my parents and I, because I still live with them, live in the country. And so it was kind of hard to find freelance positions where it was worth my while to drive out there all the time. So freelancing was really difficult, but I tried to make it work, and I tried to, hustle and get it done. And in the next round of grad school application processes, I tried again, and I did get accepted to one this time, and I accepted that offer and found out a couple months later that so how theater grad schools work is usually there's this deal where if you are working as a TA or something, they'll do tuition waivers and living stipends so that you're not, getting out into this profession that's really hard to make it in with all this debt. And so I was really counting on that because I don't have the money to pay for grad school just out of pocket. So I got an acceptance, and then a couple months later I found out that the school only had a certain number of tuition waivers and that I had not accepted in time to receive one of those. So I was gonna have to pay for it out of pocket and still TA, just not get any payment for it. And I had to make the really hard decision that was not something that financially I could do. I wasn't willing to get a bunch of private loans to pay for that. So I made the really hard decision to not go to grad school or delay it for a while. And that was hard, and there were a lot of tears. At this point, I wasn't even really freelancing that much anymore. I was substitute teaching because it was more lucrative. And guys, freelancing without an agent is tough. You are always working, you are always trying to get the next job, even while you're in your job. And when they're smaller theaters, they don't pay very much. So it was tough. So I really went through like a really hard time there the spring after I graduated college. But I was still on that theater grind, so I got a job at a summer stock. And in that job, I was what did they call me? They called me a draper firsthand. Sometimes people call the same thing different names. So I was a draper firsthand there. And it was really hard. They were long hours. This summer stock, I would work from 9:30 in the morning till 11 at night, which I don't recommend. Don't go to a summer stock that makes you work those hours, but I did. I didn't know that those were the hours when I agreed to the job. And so that was definitely a burnout summer, but it made it like I had another epiphany like I did when I was sitting in the costume shop at college. I was sitting in that costume shop at that summer stock and realized I loved construction so much, and that as I was sitting in that costume shop, I was thinking back to my time as a freelancer in the previous year and how much I really didn't like it. And I realized there that maybe what I really loved about being in costume shops and being part of this process was construction and building those things. So while I was there, and then like afterwards, because you can't just make a decision in the heat of being overworked. In the time following that, I kind of realized that and decided that I was gonna work in the construction side we call it technical theater. I was gonna work in the construction side of costumes, and I was gonna be a technician instead, and that I really wanted to be a draper. So I started filling out applications. At this point, it was like really close to people's full-time season, so there weren't that many, but I did a bunch of applications, as many as I could find, and I didn't get any offers. I did get an interview with the costume shop at Disney World. I had to fly to Florida and stay there for a weekend and take a sewing test. I didn't get that job, but I only failed my sewing test by 2 points. So they invited me back in a couple months, but by that time I had already kind of realized like I'm not financially in a place where I can move across the country. So I did not end up doing another sewing test. So that was just part of the applications and rejections that I got that year. So I went back to substitute teaching for a year, trying to like figure out where I can apply. I was still applying to places. And then a regional theater in Cleveland, which was the closest big like major city to where I lived, was put out apprenticeship applications, and I got really excited because they paid not that much money. That's a whole other video on apprenticeships. So I applied, and the costume shop manager was a friend of one of my professors in college. So I think that kind of gave me a little bit of a leg up. And I got that apprenticeship, which was really awesome. And I was really excited because it was like a stepping stone into, you know, I wasn't getting jobs in technical theater in that whole year of applications I was doing, because I didn't have a lot of professional experience. So that apprenticeship was really going to be a stepping stone to having that more professional experience and being able to get a job in a costume shop that was paid. So I did that apprenticeship, and it was amazing, and I loved every one of my mentors there. The company was great. If they ever open up applications to their costume shop, I'm so there. But then that apprenticeship was for the 2019-2020 season, so COVID happened, and we were graduated early, me and the other apprentices, and that kind of was another blow to be like, this was my stepping stone, and this ended, and now all the theaters are closed, and what am I gonna do? Like, I've worked for years at trying to get to this career, and that was really hard. And I think it was hard for, you know, a lot of people. I'm not alone in that. But in that year, I went back to substitute teaching, and I was toying with changing careers, and but then in, I think, February, I got an email that the summer stock I had contracted with in February of 2020 wanted to bring everybody back from that season that got canceled that they could. And so I agreed, and I was very excited to get to be one of the first wave of people who like went back. And now here I am at a summer stock doing applications. I'm very excited. And that was my journey, high school all the way to present. I hope this video has been informative and a great introduction to one of the things that I work in as a working artist, and that you really enjoyed it. If you have any other questions about my theatrical journey or anything in this video, be sure to put them in the comments below. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!